We actually teach and train the skills of repair, remanufacture, redesign. And we're not just taking a product, giving it a clean and throwing it back into a resale retail platform. We actually take an asset and ask the questions around the design. Can this be sold safely? What is the fair market value? What is the upcycle opportunity, reupholster, reimagine? Or if we're going to resource recover and deaggregate it, where does that asset go? Because it's already been mined out of the land to be produced in the first place. What is the most valuable opportunity for that to go to the next place? And what happens is we're not only rebuilding product, but we're rebuilding people.
Hey there, and welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. If you're looking to get more sales, more customers, master your marketing, and ultimately take control of your retail or e-commerce business, then you're in the right place. I'm Selena Knight, a retail growth strategist and multi-award-winning store owner whose superpower is uncovering exactly what your business requires to move to the next level. I'll provide you with the strategies, the tools, and the insight you need to scale your store. All you need to do is take action. Ready to get started?
Now, you guys might not know this about me, and I did sort of talk about this in this session earlier, is I am very much value-driven, i.e. I'm a tight ass most of the time. I will pay for things like dresses that I think I'll get a lot of wear out of, but I really think about where my money is going. And I've been in the eco industry now since 2006. So I think I'm super conscious about how the industry is constantly changing. And so today, in this session, we have Yasmin Grigaliunas, the CEO and co-founder of the world's biggest garage sale, and Kirsten Kore from DesignerEx. And we're going to be talking about the circular economy and how the attitudes of consumers and even big business is changing to meet the needs of those end customers. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'll start with you, Yasmin, because I saw you a couple of years on stage down at Inside Retailer, and I was just in awe. I think I had the jaw dropping because everything that you were doing was similar to what I had set out to build for my retail store back in 2007. We were in the eco industry and we were seen as being big, crunchy hippies. And my idea was to try and mainstream eco into the community. Hope I did a good job there. First of all, I want you to tell us what the world's biggest garage sale is and how you're trying to do the exact same thing to, I guess, commercialise and make it more mainstream to not necessarily have everything brand new.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy. Like, first of all, congratulations for being an early adopter and taking action, because that's the uncomfortable phase, and being comfortable in the uncomfortable, I think, is a real quality of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. World's biggest garage sale started out literally 9 years ago as a garage sale. I wanted to raise money for charity, believe it or not. And I wanted to do it without asking people for money. And that was the question I asked myself. How do you raise money without asking people for money? Well, a garage sale was an obvious answer. What I discovered, though, when talking to my customers, who mostly at the time were my friends, bringing me their stuff to my garage so I could sell it at our one-day event, was that they really cared about the product, had a story, but held on to that product because they didn't want to put it in a charity bin, and they didn't have the time to sell it. So we were unearthing these dormant and idle assets really early that I had no idea at the time were worth $48 billion in Australia alone.
Wow.
From our households only. And when we did $15,000 in one day at that garage sale, all I could think was, imagine if we did this properly. So the next year I took a month off my job and pulled it all together, had a one-day event, did $60,000 in a day. And then the third year, did almost $100,000 in a day. And I gave all that money away for charity. What I realized and uncovered then was the beauty of products and their material flow, and what about the items that don't sell, and where do they go? And I could literally see in a big giant warehouse the problem right before my eyes that I needed to solve. And that was, how do we make money and bring this second life, circular product range out of the dirty, secondhand, second best feeling industry, which was largely a charitable focus, and how do we actually make it a resale, retail, re-commerce enterprise that worked in collaboration with our partners. So, 2017, I quit my job, went all in, no plan B, created the world's biggest garage sale as a company. But what I realized at the time is that we were bigger than our vision was bigger than the world's biggest garage sale. So I actually created a sub-brand in 2018 called Circonomy. But back then, when you're pitching circular economy, social enterprise, non-tech, garage sale, dirty secondhand products, mid-40s female founder, you're probably not really in any of the awesome boxes for an entrepreneur. However, I'm a business builder and I love customers. So we had traction, and that was really what we rode on the back of, is we have validation, we have customers. And Circonomy was way too early back then to launch. But now, 5 years on, to be able to launch the Circonomy vision and feel like we're no longer the utter nutter, we're now trending in this economy that really does value sustainability, not to tick a box, but to actually work collaboratively to understand a resource in its second and third life, or maybe understand a resource in its returned life. We as retailers know returns are a challenge, imperfections are a challenge, designing products for disassembly is a challenge, and it's not a challenge that we need to play and solve on our own. And so Circonomy and AKA World's Biggest Garage Sale are really here to work hand in hand to mobilise and prioritise circularity in the retail and resale space.
I really want to talk about money in just a moment. Yeah, you mentioned their early adoption. And Kirsten, you guys have been early adopters of this circular economy. So first up, for people who aren't listening, what does DesignerEx do? And what made you actually think there was a gap in the market for it?
So we're a peer-to-peer fashion rental platform, pure play online. And so we don't buy any inventory, but we instead have built the technology to enable consumers to list their own dresses on the platform, empower them with the tools to make the money back from the dress, and rent them out to other women in a secure technology way. But where it came about was, my background's in real estate, so it's not fashion, it's not tech. I was literally going to an awards night and shopping for that awards night. And I was standing in the Strand in Sydney, and I tried on a beautiful $1,000 dress, and I just couldn't justify buying that dress, knowing I was only going to wear it once. So
We're on the same page.
Yeah. So I just needed to find that value, and I was racking my brain, like, how can I buy this dress and find value in it? And I just couldn't, so I left. I didn't buy it, and then had a conversation with the girls in the office, and we figured out that you can actually rent dresses over Facebook. So it was gaining momentum, that other women were in the same position as me, and they were trying to rent out their dresses. And I think the driving factor there was they wanted to create more value out of their purchases that they knew that they didn't originally get. So I emailed my credit card details to this girl, and it was just really not secure. She really wanted the dress back, so she was like, please just look after it and send it back to me. And I was like, please don't use my credit card details. And it did go smoothly, and it was amazing. But that's where the spark came, that there was no platform out there to do this at scale. It was kind of probably a coincidence it did go smoothly. That's where we started, and that was in 2014. And so we started researching, and there was just no platform out there that was doing peer-to-peer fashion rental. It was early days for like Rent the Runway and Glam Corner, who were doing great, but they just weren't solving that problem that I had standing there in that boutique and giving me the control to do what I wanted to do with the fashion items. So we started building from scratch in 2015, literally whiteboard stuff, making up our own terms and conditions and how it was all going to operate. And found a tech team overseas who started building it from, a few $1,000s, really.
Fantastic. I want to talk about money. I love money. I think you do amazing things with money. And the more money you make, the more people you can help. And this is a question for both of you. How do you share that acceptability that making money from something that is already owned is actually okay? Because I see people on Facebook who are trying to sell stuff maybe that, unwanted gift. Why don't you just give it away? You didn't pay for it. So there's definitely some kind of association with almost how much you paid for a product, whether you paid for it, and whether it should be you should profit from it as a result. So I'm going to ask you, Yasmin, how did you convince other people that it was okay to profit off something that they'd given you for free?
Yeah, that's a great question. And because I suppose our transition was garage sale, give it to us, we're going to give all the money away, we got great customer traction to start with. One of the biggest challenges to transition from, hobby, while I still had a full-time job, to, oh my gosh, like I can't quit my job and not ever be employed again. I need to earn money and I need to pay people to do work for us. We were able to determine that in our business, the real leverage and value opportunity wasn't just about making money on the product, but it was actually enabling employment opportunities for people who might be underrepresented in our community. So you imagine all the neurodiverse, our customers and our community members living with disability, the people who don't rise to the top of the employment queue because they don't tick all the boxes. For us, there was a real value opportunity that if we were going to make money from this product, we needed to ensure that something was going circularly back to the community. And it was a really obvious option for us to be a for-profit social enterprise because we didn't want to be a charity. We didn't feel like we would compete. We were not wanting to take product and just put it back in at a charitable, making money with volunteers way. We wanted to create jobs. Our customers wanted us to create jobs. And when we heard that question asked multiple times, why don't you do this full time? Why don't you move to an employment model? And why don't you consider creating an enterprise business around circularity and around employment? It was a real no-brainer. But let me tell you, hardest thing I've ever done. When you can be a charity and there's a way to set up a company, or a commercial company and there's a way to set up a company, there is no in-between seesaw option. You are constantly balancing every day commercial, community. For 5 years, with still no system that actually enables that style of business, but we know it is the way to do business. So we just thought it was another little challenge to throw into the pot. And we've always been transparent, built trust, been authentic and vulnerable with our community and our customers. And when you have nothing to hide, then you can live with a very guilt-free existence that you're doing this for profit, for purpose.
I want to talk about how you scaled in a moment, but I think as a consumer, when you give something to charity, assuming you haven't just given it because you can't get rid of it any other way because your garbage bin's full, you have no expectation that they're going to get more than a couple of dollars out of it. Mm-hmm. And so that concept that actually, and let's be honest, for most part, the person who's working at a charity shop is a volunteer. So yes, they're getting some self-actualization happiness, but they're not getting anything out of it. So that concept as someone who would be donating to you is, well, you know what, if you make money, then you actually value what I'm giving you more than me just sticking it in a charity store and it's going to be sold for $2.
You do, and beyond just taking a product back, we actually teach and train the skills of repair, remanufacture, redesign. And we're not just taking a product, giving it a clean and throwing it back into a resale retail platform. We actually take an asset and ask the questions around the design. Can this be sold safely? What is the fair market value? What is the upcycle opportunity? Reupholster, reimagine? Or if we're going to resource recover and deaggregate it, where does that asset go? Because it's already been mined out of the land to be produced in the first place. What is the most valuable opportunity for that to go to the next place? And what happens is we're not only rebuilding product, but we're rebuilding people. And the wonderful opportunity there is when someone can see a product that goes back into the economy, sometimes for not much less than its original price because it's been rebuilt and revalued, then you start to gain momentum around an entire shift in the value of products in the second-hand and circular economy.
That's the perfect segue to you, Kirsten. Yasmin uses the words fair market value and profit. How do you find, especially with your platform, you clearly make money off it. No one does this for free. But how do you combat that end consumer saying, well, you're just profiting off other people who want to rent their item out? But also empowering the person who is on the platform to be okay with making money. Because let's be honest, if you've ever hired something, maybe the dress costs $750, you might be paying $200 to hire it. And if you're looking at it, you could be like, well, 4 hires and now you're making money off of it. Like, in what world is that okay? So tell me a little bit about how your company embraces that.
Yeah, well, we definitely empower our customers and our dress lenders to make as much money back as they can, because what that does is it's extracting value from that one item. So what we're encouraging is repurposing fashion. That's what we're doing. And so the reason why fast fashion has been so successful is because they've really tapped into what consumers have wanted, which is something new, something quick, and something affordable. And that's why everyone's been eating it up, because it's fed that, that new social media world where we want something new all the time. And companies have done really well at that, fast fashion companies, giving consumers that. But what fashion rental, specifically designer fashion rental, does is addresses all those wants and desires as well, which is something affordable, accessible, something quick, and something new. So that's why we're completely flipping the whole consumption model on its head. And that's why we encourage our dress lenders to, rent out their dresses as many times as possible. They are making money, but that encourages them to go back to the brand and buy more from a designer brand and not a fast fashion outlet. So it's that whole model. We are very happy that they're making money, because that will drive them back to buy better quality stuff. We've seen great case studies with what the technology platforms enabled. And in one case study, a $400 dress was rented 30 times over. So that's making the dress owner, a 700% profit ROI. She made over $2,500 back. So that that brought her back to the platform to do more of that. But that's 30 times.
That someone didn't buy a dress.
Exactly. And wore something new that they didn't want to wear again. So
that is a great segue to my next question, which is, do you think that the people, the end consumer, not necessarily the people who are renting out, are more cash focused, like it's an affordability thing, or are they eco-conscious? Are they more aware of the fact that if I rent this thing, I'm not putting something back into the economy, I'm just reusing? What do you think is their primary focus?
Yeah, it's a balancing act. I think everyone does want to consume sustainably, but we're still human beings in the end. We still want it to be easy and accessible. And so I think the cash element is super important just because of that value. The value has changed. It's not what's hanging in my wardrobe anymore for 20 or so years. It's the value's shifted in one wear. And we're talking about specifically special occasions is where we focus on, which is where women want something special, once off, and designer, if you can get it. So it is a cash thing because of the value that they're attaching it to. So, I think it's both. Because of the value that they're looking for.
And I'd like to make a comment on that. I want to know, or maybe bring it up so we can break it down. We sell our time for money without guilt. I mean, AKA we all go to work to earn money. Yeah. So why is there guilt associated with selling our stuff for money? I mean, I certainly think, and we're a bit biased because this is our industry, but if I open my wardrobe and see items sitting idle, all I can think about is that is such a waste. So what can we do to actually mobilise underutilised resources, whether it's people or things, because that grows an economy. It really ultimately brings the social and circular economy to life without guilt. And we need to have really honest conversations about, am I better off spending $1,000 on a dress today and I'll make my money back in the future and I will feel better about the longevity of that product? Or do I go and buy a lower cost dress and hang it in my wardrobe, and one day it will be
it's going to end up in a charity bin.
Yeah, it'll end up in the charity bin when I die, because no one will understand how valuable it was to me, and it was really just, a cheap quickie instead of something that was going to be a lifelong relationship.
Yeah. Do you think there's any stigma associated? So we've talked about there's definitely can be a stigma associated with being greedy if you're making money off of something. I am of the opinion the more money you make, the more people you can help.
Yes.
So you make more money, you can hire more staff, you can get a cleaner. Like money is a circular thing, and it has to be part of that economy as well. But do you think that there is a stigma attached to secondhand goods? Let's just call them secondhand goods.
There was, absolutely. And I think it's different now. You go to any of the charity stores' websites, and absolute credit to them, they talk about circular economy. Salvo stores launched an eBay site during COVID. They have now digital access to their products. And as someone that loves to buy secondhand, because I love the A, what it does for the environment, B, what it does for the community, to be able to have that access now digitally, I think we're starting to really reshape the value of these products. And definitely there's a few things we need to change. I still would love charity stores to not call them charity bins, because that's why people put shit in them, because they're bins.
Yeah.
But if we don't call it a bin and we start to use language that lifts the value of the product, then all of a sudden we value our products more. And therefore we get longevity, and there's less shame in being able to transact in that re-commerce market. I sense that we are in a significant transition from second-hand and using those words to circular and sustainable, and them being the norm.
Okay, these words becoming the norm, from someone who can be very jaded because I've been in this industry for 20 years, lots of big businesses use green, brainwashing, eco, giving back, all those words. Do you think that these are token efforts, or do you think they actually do care about the things that they're saying they care about? Oh, Kirsten.
Go on, Kirsten, you go first.
Well, can I just say, lots of fashion brands will say this, right? Either they might have, you could give money to charity at checkout, or this is how we empower people.
Yeah.
Fashion is one of the big
I think I think it's still really early days. I think people do care, but I think businesses maybe are jumping on bandwagons a bit too quickly to put kind of a badge without really knowing the underlying and making sure that it really is sustainable, and you're really addressing the consumer's needs and wants in a sustainable way. So I think it's really early still, and I think there's a lot of education around this that needs to happen. More talking about it in arenas like this. But I think it's early days.
And I agree. I think that I don't know that people think in such a direct way of let's tick a box. I'd like to think that people don't do that. Definitely annual reports where they're accessible, and the websites, and talking to employees, past and present, from businesses will give you more of an appetite and honesty around whether or not it's values driven or whether or not it's desirability to tick a box. But I think that we need to be fair as well, that we've got to make progress over perfection, and no company is perfect. And instead of shaming enterprises who are trying to transition from what they were to what they think they can and will be, we need to support them, lift them up rather than crush them down, and maybe have open, hard, but challenging and collaborative conversations about, well, look, I think that's a really good start, but have you thought about? And start planting seeds of possibility. I always say I'm not an activist, I'm an activator, and I won't protest, but I will produce. So I'm not going to get angry about the things I can't control, but I absolutely want to help influence that control of influence. So how can we just be a little bit more kind to each other?
Yeah, I agree with the enterprise, and not shaming, but I think because big enterprises, they're set up, they've got their ways, but I think they need to go slowly and do one thing at a time and be really transparent about what they're trying to do, without doing too much and making a mistake. So I think it's a slow burn that we need to go through, but I agree with Yaz is to support that. And I think, in terms of like introducing them to like the right people to speak to, because it's a whole other world. It's a can of worms.
And there's so many different avenues you can go down. Like, are we planting trees? Is it supply chain?
Yeah.
Different places where the green, the eco, the money can end up, and just making sure that aligns with what your customers want as much as what you want as a company.
Yeah.
And ask your customers. Ask your 15-year-old customers, your 10-year-old customers, your 80-year-old customers. Ask all customers. Because if you get that very diverse view, you'll then actually understand and feel what it is inside of those responses that you can do as a business. That is one small act today.
You are both clearly scaling up quite quickly. So I would love to hear maybe some of the obstacles, maybe some of the tips, maybe some of the things that have worked really, really well in scaling a business that is reliant on other people's stuff.
For us, it's all around technology. So we are almost fashion last in a way, but we really focus on our technology to enable that scalability and be able to go global. The more, dress listings we get, the more impact we can have. So for us, it's like a big focus on technology and creating that customer experience so people can come and consume sustainably and easily. And we can get rid of the fast fashion. I think in the US, 75% of Gen Zs want to consume sustainably, but then you look at fast fashion players like Shein, $100 billion valuation. Or
what they say and what they're prepared to pay for are very different.
Yeah, attitudes and behaviours are still not aligning. So I think the responsibility is on platforms like ours to just keep chasing that customer experience that consumers are used to enable them to enter the circular economy and make it part of their lives. So for us, that's why we've doubled down on rental. Resale's been done for decades. Depop, Vessia, eBay are amazing, and what you're doing here is amazing. But rental specifically, that's why we focus on special occasions, last mile payment solutions. Yeah, so we create the best rental platform in the world.
So what are some of the obstacles that come with scaling a brand that isn't inventory based?
Yeah, well, obviously we need supply, but we actually haven't chased the supply side that much. We actually kind of market our demand side, but naturally that, our customers end up listing dresses because they're renting a dress from Amanda from Perth, and then they realise, hang on, I've just bought 3 other items that I could list to make money as well, and have that circulating in the economy. So, we've had over 70,000 listings on the platform, but that's because we've focused on making it as easy as possible. So you can list a dress within 90 seconds, and there's trust and security on the platform, and that's why people choose DesignerEx to rent.
I suspect that there's probably an element of my favourite dress designer has a Facebook group where you can sell off your dresses. And I know the ladies who have my exact same taste. And so I'll just search their names to see what they're selling. And I suspect it's probably very similar for you, is that you know that somebody else has your same style, your same taste. So you're constantly looking to see, as a consumer, what have they put back on the platform?
Yeah, and we see that. We see our renters go back to the same lenders as well because they've got the same size, and the lenders keep buying the new season stock from the brands.
You're a really awesome best friend.
Yeah, exactly. So just honing in on that, and what Yas was talking about before around community is amazing, because every booking on our platform, it's a one-on-one personalised experience that our users are getting. They're getting styling, suggestions from the owner. They're seeing photographs of that actual dress owner in her dress, in her size. So it's a real alignment there, as opposed to going online and shopping from a certain model size.
I have a question there then around designers. Have you ever had any issues with designers saying, I do not want to be associated with this kind of platform?
Not really, not directly to us, no.
Awesome.
Because so we don't wholesale, or we don't.
No.
Yeah, no.
I'm just in another Facebook group of another brand, and they will not allow the pictures from their website to be used if you're selling one of their products.
Yeah. I guess that's around photos and things. But we've from the very beginning encouraged our dress owners to upload photos of them at their event, and that's what the renters want to see. They want to see you wearing it, how you styled it. It's a real experience that people come to our platform for, because rental is it's for a specific special occasion. So it's very emotional driven rental, as opposed to, it's completely different to resale, for example.
Yasmin, you've just partnered with a brand like Officeworks. What have been some of the great things and the obstacles that you found scaling your business?
Yeah, look, I think for us, Officeworks became a customer 3 years ago. And we were looking to solve a problem for them, and they were looking for someone to solve a problem for them, which was really, what do we do with our imperfect, scratched and dent, returned products that don't really have a space and place in our stores? How do we work with an enterprise with trust and transparency? So we had 3 years of a relationship before the investment, and we didn't start that relationship thinking investment. It's just been a natural evolution. It was literally a swipe right at the World Economic Forum, World Circular Economy Forum 3 years ago. One of their team members swiped and we met over there and chatted. And all of a sudden we're in this beautiful partnership that really is values aligned. And so lots of people might think from the outside, this big giant has, ownership of this smaller enterprise, but it's not like that at all. We are absolutely values aligned. We want the same outputs and outcomes for our industry, not just for Officeworks as an organisation, but for our industry. And they saw very early, because they had an amazing sustainability team in-house working on solutions already that were proving valuable, viable, and commercially beneficial for the business. So when we kind of had our little matchmake, it was just another one of those potential pilots that might one day yield something valuable and viable. And when we started to see, or they started to see, their waste costs go down and their profits in certain profit centres going up, plus their team, community, collaboration, circular economy, and it was delivering on their strategy, it was a real no-brainer to invest in us during our capital raise. So it was well-timed. But now that we're 6 months in, so it's still very early, but let me tell you, it's been such a wonderful relationship of evolution. We're solving problems together. We work side by side. It sounds very fantasy. We're in the honeymoon period, and it's wonderful. And Sarah Hunter, to her credit, as the leader of, managing director of Officeworks, when I said to her during our capital raise, look, the number one question I get from entrepreneurs and other organisations is, how did you get Officeworks? Like in a way like, oh my God, how did you get them as a customer? In a people are interested way. And she said, yes, I want you to answer it like this. You can just tell them it's values aligned. And it is. So to hear that from their leader, knowing that a values aligned, longer term vision of the future for Circonomy, we all love our new brand, right? For Circonomy to be integrated into retail so that we're not seeing assets and products wasted, it really is a bigger picture than our two companies coming together. And I think that that's been that trust, transparency, vulnerability, honesty, authenticity, those real values that we're prepared to test early on, even though we could have and have along the way done things that might not have worked, but we just get back up again and continue to solve the problems together.
Awesome. Kirsten, what are you excited about for the future when it comes to the circular economy?
I'm excited with the prediction that by 2030 it's going to take over fast fashion. But it's very exciting. It's only growing. During the pandemic, the focus really was set on, global issues. And I'm coming from the fashion lens, but it's one of the biggest polluters in the world. So it can only grow when we look at sustainability. And I'm really excited about how our double down approach on rental and making that a global solution. So for women just traveling around the world, you can jump on and, it's a global solution. And I think what you'll find is niche kind of businesses cutting out parts of the circular economy and doing it really well. So as it starts to take over other traditional ways of doing things, I think you'll see people kind of carving out their own way of doing something and doing it really well, as opposed to a company trying to do it all, because it's a new world in the future now. So there's a lot of opportunity. And I think any business here, even solution partners or technology partners, sustainability is going to be a huge focus. Yeah, so it's really exciting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's a wrap. I'd love to hear what insight you've gotten from this episode and how you're going to put it into action. If you're a social kind of person, follow me at @TheSelenaKnight and make sure to leave a comment and let me know. And if this episode made you think a little bit differently, or gave you some inspiration, or perhaps gave you the kick that you needed to take action, then please take a couple of minutes to leave me a review on your platform of choice. Because the more reviews the show gets, the more independent retail and e-commerce stores just like yours that we can help to scale. And when that happens, it's a win for you, a win for your community, and a win for your customers. I'll see you on the next episode.